All repairing and cleaning operations should be carried out with the tool switched off. The machine must be air-fed only after checking that the oil tank plug, figure 35, is properly sealed and the seizure ring, figure 17, is in its seat. All components of the riveting tool must be cleaned with special detergents before they are mounted back. Remove the balancing hook, figure 74. Use a 3 mm wrench to unscrew and remove the screw, figure 105, then remove the motor protection, figure 104. Use clamps to remove the feeding tubes, figure 45, from the pneumatic motor, figure 85, then slip the air conveyor, figure 86, out of its position. Disassemble the pneumatic engine, figure 85, with 19 and 24 mm wrenches. Remove the air conveyor, figure 86, the clutch and engine rod. With a 22 mm wrench, loosen the ring nut, figure 62, and remove it together with the head, figure 61. Pass a pin through the appropriate hole located in the cone carrying heads and press inward on it to release the clutch from the tie rod. At the same time, unscrew the tie rod and remove. With a 27 mm wrench, release and remove the cone carrying heads, figure 63. With a 17 mm wrench, unscrew the connector, figure 107, to free the protection and subsequently the silencer, figure 33. Use a 5 mm Allen wrench to remove the tank plug, figure 35, together with the hermetic washer, figure 34. Then empty the oil tank. Used oil must be disposed of in accordance with the International Regulation on Environmental Safety for Used Oil Discard. Using a 30 mm wrench, unscrew and remove the front connector, figure 64. With an appropriate tool, release and remove the adjustment stroke connector, figure 83, together with the spring, figure 82. Use a rubber hammer to tap the rear side of the group to make it exit from the front side of the hydraulic cylinder. With a hammer, lightly tap the assembly that you have just removed several times in order to eliminate the Loctite. Fasten the hydraulic cylinder in a vise and use a 17 mm wrench to release the nut, figure 69. Fasten a screwdriver in a vise and with a 14 mm wrench, release and remove the tie rod sleeve, figure 65, then the spring, figure 68, the nut, figure 69, the bush for the O-ring, figure 70, the piston, figure 78, and female clutch, figure 79. Now, it is possible to see all the elements of the group disassembled. Remove the Barcelle, figure 76, from the piston, figure 78. Use special clamps to remove the seizure, figure 112, then remove the washer, figure 73, and the Barcelle, figure 72. Remove the gasket, figure 71, and the power back, figure 113. Rest the sleeve, figure 65, on a vise and remove the pin, figure 67, along with the clutch, figure 66. Check their wear and, if necessary, substitute the damaged parts. Once verified and cleaned, proceed with reassembly. Check that the roughness of the hydraulic cylinder inner surface is open to RA. Reassemble the Barcelle, figure 76, ensuring that the holding lip is pointing upwards. Assemble the power back, figure 113, onto the bush, figure 70, ensuring that the concave part is upward, and subsequently the O-rings, figure 71, as indicated in the picture. Then, insert the Balsele figure 72 with a holding lip upward and the washer figure 73. Fasten through means of the sigil ring figure 112. Insert the bush figure 70 onto the piston. Insert the clutch figure 79 into the oil pressure cylinder. Clamp a screwdriver in a vise and insert the assembly. Screw the nut figure 69 onto the clutch with Loctite number 542. Insert the spring figure 68 into the sleeve figure 65 and screw onto the clutch. Using a thickness gauge, check that the distance between the nut and oil pressure piston is between a maximum of 2.8–2.9 mm. Fasten the nut figure 69 and sleeve by means of 14 and 17 mm wrenches. Fasten the riveting tool and remove the cover figure 2 using a special vise and a special wrench, both supplied on request. Use suitable pliers to remove the pneumatic piston, stem and dampener group figure 6, 8 and 9. Keep the hydraulic cylinder pressed upwards and unscrew the guide stem connectors using a special wrench supplied on request. Once the hydraulic cylinder and the hand grip, figure 56, are freed, remove the guide stem connector, figure 12. Once the oil pressure cylinder has been freed from the hand grip, remove the two O-rings, figure 100, from their seats. Slip the pin out, figure 47, and remove the control button, figure 46. Then disassemble the valve body assembly, short, figure 110, and long, 111, using a 13 mm socket wrench. For both valves, disassemble the control button with a pair of pliers, figure 48, and slip out the O-rings, figure 49, in order to remove the valve piston from the valve body. Check the wear and, if necessary, substitute damaged parts. Reassemble the valve body assembly. Mount the two bodies, figure 110 and 111, onto the hand grip, taking care to mount the short valve structure, figure 110, in the upper hole. Then secure by means of a 13 mm socket wrench and Loctite number 542. Mount the control button, figure 46, on the hand grip, inserting the appropriate pin, figure 47. Mount the O-rings, figure 100, back in their seats, greasing them to have fastening. Check that the roughness of the hydraulic cylinder inner surface is open to RA, then insert the cylinder, figure 75, in the hand grip. Remove the dampener, figure 9. The outer O-ring, figure 5, an inner O-ring, figure 32, from the pneumatic piston. Check that the screw stem, figure 4, is fastened with Loctite number 542. Check the wear of the dampener, figure 9, and the roughness of the stem surface, figure 8, which should be open to RA. check the wear of the dampener figure 9 and insert it so that its raised part faces toward the piston figure 6. Also check the wear of the O-rings figures 5 and 32. Warning: always replace the O-ring figure 32 when overhauling the tool. Now disassemble the guide stem group. Insert the seal, figure 14, in the guide stem group, ensuring that the seal holding lip is upward. The same procedure must be followed for the balsele, figure 13. Now mount the O-rings, figures 10, 11 and 15. Important: always replace the gaskets when overhauling the tool. Use special pliers to remove the seizure ring, figure 17, then insert an extractor supplied on request inside the silencer housing until exiting the valve group comprising of 3 casings, figure 27, 3 O-rings, figure 28, a washer stopping spring, figure 120, a valve spacer, figure 29, a spring, figure 26, a coil, figure 25, and the cap, figure 19. Remove the cap, figure 19, from the coil, figure 25. When checking the coil, figure 25, remove the seizure ring, figure 20, using special pliers, the valve piston, figure 22, with a special tool. Remove the gaskets, figure 18, from the cap, figure 19, and replace them. Check that the O-ring, figure 21, is free on the floating piston. Always replace the O-rings, figures 21 and 45, when overhauling the tool. Grease the piston with high viscosity grease, then block with seizure ring, figure 20. Grease and assemble the coil with the cap, figure 19, and spring, figure 26. When mounting the valve assembly, use a special wrench supplied on request and proceed as follows. Insert the casing, figure 27, and O-ring, figure 28, in alternate positions. The valve spacer, figure 29, from the side with the highest surface. And finally, the washer, figure 120. Check the valve assembly housing and O-ring seals, figure 100, for wear. Also check that the tool body sleeve, figure 31, is not scuffed and that the tube, figure 98, is fastened. Grease and push the group home inside the body, then remove the rear side of the wrench so as to contain the valve components. Grease the coil group and insert it in the body. Fasten with seizure ring, figure 17. Fasten the tool body, figure 31, in a vise. Grease the guide stem connector, figure 12, and screw the hand grip onto the tool body by means of a special wrench supplied on request. Grease and insert the piston in the tool body using a rubber-coated hammer. Screw the cover Figure 2 onto the tool body using a special wrench supplied on request. Grease and insert the aerodynamic assembly through the front side of the cylinder. Mount the spring Figure 82 and rear adjustment stroke connector Figure 83 onto the air pressure cylinder, ensuring that the distance between cylinder and connector is about 4–5 mm to enable the piston to move. Then screw on using a 30 mm wrench and secure the front connector Figure 64. With suitable pliers, insert the engine feeding tubes Figure 45 on the hand grip. Insert the mare clutch Figure 119 and the air line Figure 86 on the pneumatic engine and screw the latter onto the oil pressure cylinder. Check that the tie rod sleeve Figure 65 is integral to the engine and that both rotate freely. Also check that the tie rod sleeve has an axial movement of about 1 mm. Secure the engine using 19 and 24 mm wrenches. And lastly, insert the feeding tubes into the relative connectors. Then insert the air line into its seat. Since the engine is a commercial item, in the event of malfunction, contact FAR SRL service department. Feed the riveting machine with pressure of 6 to 7 bars and carry out a pneumatic test of the machine. Disconnect the pressure feed. With the riveting machine in a horizontal position, remove the cap Figure 35 and screw the folding container Figure 101 into its seat. While keeping the riveting tool in a horizontal position and starting air feeding, push the tensile strength button and make the riveting tool carry out some cycles until air bubbles inside the container stop coming out. This condition indicates that the topping up of the oil has been fully achieved. At this point, stop the air feeding and, while keeping the riveting tool in a horizontal position, unscrew and close up the container. Substitute the washer Figure 34 and then close the cap Figure 35 with a torque equivalent to 5 Nm. Reconnect the air feed and check the piston's travel, which should be about 7 mm. If it is not, repeat the oil filling procedures. Tighten the adjustment stroke connector Figure 83 and keep the control button pressed down long enough to detect any possible leakage in the points indicated in the film. Pay particular attention to the safety valve Figure 1, which should neither show signs of leakage nor should it be loose or damaged. Substitute the damaged parts. Disconnect the air feed and mount the engine guard Figure 104, fixing it with the relative screws. Then, mount the silencer Figure 33 and relative guard with a 17 mm wrench. And lastly, the balancer hook Figure 74. With a 27 mm wrench, secure the cone carrying head Figure 63 onto the connector Figure 64. Insert the tie rod with its hexagonal slot facing inward and screw on. Insert the pin into its appropriate seat, pull out and screw on the tie rod fully until it is secure. Release the pin and slowly turn the tie rod anti-clockwise until it couples perfectly with the clutch. Proceed to mount the head of the relative ring nut Figure 62. Reconnect the air feed. Place the insert on the tie rod and push slightly on it so as to make it clamp automatically. Check that the head of the insert rivets with the riveter head and that the tie rod protrudes from the insert by about 2 mm. Fasten the ring nut Figure 62 using a 22 mm wrench. Feed the riveting machine. and regulate the travel in order to establish the correct tightening of the insert and the thickness used. Perform a few cycles to check the correct operation of the tool. Warning: a wrong adjustment of the riveting tool stroke may cause a faulty clamping of inserts and may break the tie rod.